Hello, hello. I am highly favored. Well, that kind of made two of us because I had my iced coffee, chin chin. Well, I'll tell you, if I have, give me one of those little shots of espresso with for let it foam up on the top. I drink that, I'll be passed out in the next minute, trying to find my way back to bed. Okay. So I've learned usually when I'm on the road and I'm doing coffee, I have a little bit of coffee and a lot of milk and a lot of
Yeah,
milk.
you love a little coffee with your milk.
It's kind of balance. A little coffee in the whole mix of it because I mean, when they do all of that stuff at Starbucks and all the others that are out
Mm.
there, the quantita of coffee is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they just throw a shot in all of that milk that they're
Mm.
giving you,
That's what it is, and you pay
and that's kind of
real
it.
dearly for that little shot.
Yes, I don't know who's going to join us today, but
Okay.
we
Can you hear my radio?
um
I need to turn it off in the other room or put the earphones in.
no, I can't hear.
You can't.
I can't hear it.
Oh, good.
No, no. Um, so I thought, since the major structural thing that we've been talking about is social and musical evolution, sooner or later we'll get around the music.
Yeah, we're headed that way.
However, today I've been musing, I guess, on something that has happened, and I'm calling it contemporary trust issues.
uh,
And when I began to look at it, um, when I began to do my research on it, I stumbled into fiduciary responsibility,
uh,
and which kind of took me into um, what is the world of mammon and
yes.
money, and so I realized from that I needed to get my trust issues correct. Okay,
Huh.
so the issue that I came into as a result of that was that there is very little difference between one and the other, because when they talk about uh, this whole role of fiduciary responsibility, it boils down
Mm.
to kind of the same thing. It's the whole idea of, so who do you trust? Why do you have this relationship? What is the structure of the relationship? What is the nature of the relationship? And then the fiduciary responsibility, at least as far as trust issues are concerned, there are the ones that are the trustees, and then there's the ones that just generally, if we could look at it like the deacons board,
Mm.
okay, they're just generally overseeing what's going on. To be honest with you, it's almost the same kind of thing. We have trust issues relative to economic situations. We have
My
trust
mind was
issues
right
relative
there.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, relative to psychological and sociological issues. We have trust issues relative to health, safety, and welfare. It's all boiling down to, who do you trust? Is there a trust? Is there a structure in the trust? How did the trust develop? And do we need it? Do we need it?
Mm.
Because it was in the 1950s that they started putting, from what I understand, "In God We Trust" on the money. So obviously they were or trusting beforehand or not trusting before.
And
So they
Martin
felt the
said
need to put
America
that.
is written as a check, a bad check.
Uh, yeah.
And it's
What
time to
about?
make it good. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So the I guess the first question is to do a trust check.
Huh.
Okay,
Wow, that's rich.
a trust check. I mean, where are we? Where are we? What are we trusting in? That whole thing.
I had a conversation with a writer yesterday. She started writing in 2017 about the issues surrounding the open summer of hate, and she's been working assiduously on it and getting to different personalities. And she wanted to talk particularly about Holly Edwards, whom
Uh
everybody
huh.
knew and loved, but Holly's gone to Jesus. And
Right.
hold on, let me tell her I call back. But so she wanted me to help her to know who Holly was, and Holly was very quiet, a quiet, fierce warrior. She was so quiet that you could be fooled to think she wasn't fierce. And by the time you figured
Mm-hmm.
out how fierce she was, you'd already lost because she never pushed her way. She was on city council. She was vice mayor, and they wanted her to be vice mayor, but her health wouldn't allow it. Um, well, and she had good sense. She decided she had the time left she wanted to spend with her family, and doing the job as parish nurse that she loved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but she said, "Well, how did she work?" I said, "She wasn't an in the front person. She was empowered. She empowered people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Joy Johnson always talks about, because Holly was vegetarian, and she said she'd bring her lunch and he'd have it laid out so nicely. And Joy said, "I'm not interested in all those fruits and vegetables, but Holly made it look so good." She said, "Oh, I ought to try a carrot." And before she knew it, she was eating carrots. And that's I mention her because her work happened and continues even if she's gone to God, because people trusted her. They trusted that she was an authentic human being, and that she was working for everybody's good. They trusted that implicitly. And which reminds me, when you speak about our trust issues, um, our society is in the process of falling apart because the institutions in which we trusted have proven untrustworthy. Um, we print "In God We Trust" on the money, but in fact, we don't trust God, we trust money. And money's gotten funny
Ah.
from the top down. Money's funny. And I prophesy that before this over, the system that we call money and the way we use it currently will become obsolete. We're going to find that, like in Star Trek, you don't need a wallet. You got
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has what they need to live, which is what it ought to be. But we've monetized healthcare, we've monetized justice, we've monetized everything in the world, and it's not working because there's no trust, and because people are greedy. And
Mm-hmm.
the trust issues of the mask. I was just reading an article this morning because Trump and Betsy DeVos are pushing for schools to open. While in the places where they're open, the COVID-19 virus is flourishing. They're closing schools. What? a day, a week after they opened up, because wait a minute, do that. Uh, yeah, because the virus is just picked up all everywhere, and they're saying, oh, well, yeah, the localities can make the decision. And I was reading the article and laughing because the superintendents that were quoted says, we don't listen to the White House, we listen to the CDC and the local health
Mm-hmm.
authorities because we need to stay alive. Trust issues. Trust issues. Um, the truth of the matter is, if there's going to be, for there to be community, for there to be a joining of people, there's got to be, for this, whether it's a marriage or friendship, whatever, there has got to be, bottom line, a level of trust that allows that relationship to grow and flourish. And if I don't trust you, I'm not gonna eat with you. It's a bad habit. It's a bad move to
Yeah.
eat with folk you can't trust. How you know you're not gonna be poisoned, as the old folks say? And there's a whole lot of ways to
Yeah.
poison people. You can poison them with poison
So
itself, or with thoughts and actions, attitudes.
what so so what would you give me as a definition of trust?
Um, I've forgotten who said it, but this little kid said, just trying to describe love. And he says, my name is safe in your mouth.
Ooh,
Mm, my name is safe in your mouth. That'll
that is
preach
so.
and make you want to holler.
Now see, no, no, now
Yeah,
see,
hold
now
up.
see,
Give me a
now
minute.
see,
Give me a minute.
now see. Now you see,
Mm,
the slaves had that down because they came up. I met my deacon the other day, gave him my right hand.
yes.
Just as soon as my back was turned, what did he do?
Yeah.
Scandalize my
Scandalize
name.
my name. Yeah, there it is.
And do you call that a deacon? Oh no. Do you call that a deacon? Oh no.
Oh no.
Do you call that a deacon? Oh no.
Oh
Why?
no.
Scandalize my name.
Scandalize my name.
That's that's
That'll
that's
preach any day,
that
anywhere.
that'll preach. That'll
Yeah.
preach.
And
That'll preach.
I'm thinking about right now, Kamala Harris's nomination as vice president. Um, she wasn't my pick, but I wasn't the one doing the picking. And guess
Yeah.
what? She's the right woman for the job. She's the right person
She's the
for
right
the
one.
job.
She's the right person
She's
for
the
the
right
job.
person for the job. So I don't want to hear nothing else,
Yeah.
because the political machine is revving up to tear her down. I will not be a part of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I will not be a
I've
part. And
I,
in fact, I'm
I,
working assiduously against it.
I've had to clear some things off of my
Oh
Facebook page
yes. Oh
because
yeah. We're
people are
not gonna
putting
have
stuff
that.
out. But no,
No, no, no. No, we're not.
no,
Trust issues. No, no,
trust
no,
issues.
understand. Uh, I don't have to agree with everything you think and do and say in order to have a level of trust. That's not necessary. People get confused in the church all the time. Um, you got to be my best friend, and if you're my best friend, you got to agree with me. Who say that ain't in the Bible nowhere?
Well, I got how can I say it? Relieved of duty at one church because pastor said at my church you have to agree with everything that I said.
Get
And I
the
said, wait a minute. I
door.
said, hold
Get
that thought.
the door.
Okay,
Do the
I
Baptist. This
grew
is the
up
Baptist. As you
in my
leave, you put
father's
that finger
church.
up. Put it. I'm leaving now. I'm leaving now.
I put I told him, I said, listen, I grew up, my dad is a preacher. And I said, he ain't never told me nothing like that. But you hold that thought,
Yeah, and
send me my check.
yes, because I won't be back. Bless all of you.
And I'll be sweeping through this. And you know what? After that, I really started sweeping through the city. My name was everywhere. Okay, and got and you see the interesting
Yes,
this was
yes.
what you said. What you said defining trust is that my name is safe in your mouth. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
that
Oh
is
yes, sir.
that is that that is a lot. Now, and so
Mm.
I'm still rocking from that. My name
It'll
can be
it'll ring it'll
safe.
ring a while. You just let it just resonate. Yes, sir. Ah, child, might have to shout. Woo. Mm.
And you see, this is oh wow. See, it's when I was looking, I have been not anguished, but I have been watching. You know, it talks about watching as well as praying.
Right.
I think it's rather interesting that we had reduced to two preachers on this conversation, but so be it. I've been watching as well as praying and seeing how that um, this whole thing with the schools and the parents are is bearing itself out. And the definition that you said would about trust is can I allow the
Mm.
name of my child to be safe in your mouth? Are you going to instrumentalize that person? Or are
Yeah.
you going to monitorize that person?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you going to
Yeah.
scandalize or whatever? And
Eh,
it's an odd definition. It's an odd definition, but it hits the
It
spot.
hits. Yeah. And I've got family and friends who sending their kids back to school. And one of our number is starting. She's starting the teacher prep, and my sister Regina has started teacher prep. They've moved all the teacher days, the teacher workshop days, to the front of the year schedule to
Yeah,
try as they try to sort out what the heck they're supposed to do for the year. Um, I've said everything I can say, and I personally, I couldn't send my child to school in this climate because I already know they wouldn't be safe in their mouths, these people's mouths. People have all kinds of excuses or they think one way about how you're supposed to do it. But the bottom line for me, I just did a letter to the congregation because um, it's looking like the time that we had tentatively set to reopen is not going to work. And we said we God has blessed us during this period, but until such time as the curve is appreciably flattened, testing and tracing are online and working, and we see that the hospitals in fact are not going to be overrun. We can in good time, and you got two pastors who are squarely in the demographic of folk who are at danger from this disease.
yeah,
We can in good conscience open.
right.
We can continue to pray, do Bible study, and have church the way we've been, because God has blessed us miraculously through all of this, and we have not
Amen.
been and met as a church body in our building since the 15th of March.
Yeah,
You hear me? And everything is
yeah,
going along the way it should. The Lord has watched people. We've watched God send people from no denomination, all denominations, different
yeah,
faith communities to help
yeah,
with the food ministry. People are sending gifts and donations and grants. We are not hurting. Uh, we should be if we judge it the way human beings do, but with God's calculus, we fine. We're just fine. And folks are trying to get antsy, but the truth of the matter is, antsy or no, we have an obligation to shepherd the people with some sense of dignity and safety, and I can't guarantee it. It could be said you cannot guarantee such on a good day, but the truth of the matter is, it is August. My gosh, it's almost September. And Nehemiah, we are exactly or worse than where we were at the beginning of the quarantine.
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely.
truth. There's no way around it. That's the truth. So would I send my child to school? No. Now I know, unfortunately, school systems function basically as daycare and feeding centers. I know that, and folks who have essential workers don't have that. They think they have no recourse,
Right.
and I would have to pray real hard for God to show me another way to take care of my children during this time. But I couldn't send them to school.
Right.
I couldn't square that.
Right. I yesterday we had a little pizza dinner at this restaurant that is two doors down from the church. I haven't seen that church with my own eyes since March 7th.
Mm.
And I was in awe of just how the neighborhood has slowed down a bit because it's in the heart of a very active area, but it has slowed down considerably. And we talked a bit about at the table about a bit of that. And what's happening is that a lot of the higher education
Mm.
situations are not being allowed to go on because they're talking about going online, and these particular institutions are into institutions where it requires American students to keep the machine going.
Mm.
I think one of the young ladies said, "Well, make sure that on the 31st of August we have to have a rehearsal." And I looked at her. I was thinking to myself, okay, whatever. I have been carrying on. I had this viral virtual choir, and I've done some other things
Mm.
online.
Safely.
But from my experience, safely, and just walking around the city, for a city where they've lost like 30,000 people and people are going like flies because Florence, Italy, is renowned for being a city where they have a large senior population. So if you have a large senior population, you also have a large population where people are facing
Vulnerable. Right. Anyway.
aging issues and collateral things. And so the story that one lady said to me about her mother, she said her mother was saying, a lot of the older people were out and about. Okay. They said, well, gonna die anyway. I may as well go for it. And they were out and about shopping, and they had to really kind of rein the folk in. It's like it kind of smacks you in all
Yeah.
directions.
Yeah. Right
Me
in the face.
as a pastor, as a teacher, as as an asthmatic, and somebody with high
Mm.
blood pressure, etc. And my first inclination, after having spent years in research physiology, it's like, you ain't going nowhere, and stay inside.
Yeah, cause
And
you ain't got to tell me more than once the difference between a mask and a ventilator.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the lady, now she was at the Staples trying to Xerox some copies, and so she had just come out of. Is that Christine?
Yeah.
Hey, Christine.
Hi.
She,
Hello.
hi,
Hello.
hey.
Hi.
So,
Hey.
This lady had come out. She had just had something like I think it was like liver or something
Transplant?
surgery.
Ooh.
Okay, no, not transplant. She had some sort of something done.
Well,
Anyway, so
it's
she was
serious,
there.
whatever it is.
She was there. She was doing a printout, and she saw this other woman who was there, and she asked her, you kind of need to pull your mask up. Uh,
Oh, here we go.
the lady took a swing at her,
Oh,
threw her across the room,
no!
threw her across the room, and there she was, and they had to pick her up, and
Oh,
all I saw
wow.
her that after she had grabbed her and thrown her, she with the way she threw her, that she
She
knocked the
landed.
partitions, the plexiglass. She could have split her head wide open if she had come
Oh,
in the
no.
same right way, but she kind of rolled with it. But I just thought, is it really worth all of that just because somebody asked you to pull your
No,
mask
that's
up? I mean, that's
that's
just
insanity.
I'm finding, and so Christine, we're talking today. We're continuing our more grandiose topic of social and musical evolution. So it happens we haven't gotten the music yet, but we're talking about trust issues, and we're talking about. Started off saying that when I started to research the whole idea of the discussion, I talk about contemporary trust issues, and I really didn't define it that much. So the first thing that started to pop through were discussions relative to financial or fiduciary or economic trusts, and so pretty much it was kind of saying pretty much the same thing, that there is an erosion that's going on relative to those situations, and there are the people that are the trustees, and there are the people that are just watching, and so there is this who has the proper right to generate and control and to do the
Thank
overseeing on the whole
you.
thing. But then when I salute, so when I began to look at the other side of it from the social and the social science as well as the psychological standpoint, we come up with the whole idea of fiduciary responsibility, people having faith in you. And so Brenda came up with this definition of trust. Can you repeat what you said, Brenda?
I read where a little boy was asked to define love, and for me, it also means trust. And he says, "My name is safe in your mouth."
And so we're talking about that in light of so many things that are happening, like the thing about sending our kids, like the kids, back to school. Me as a parent, do I feel that my child's name would be safe in the mouths of those people that are determining that these kids need to go back to school, or the church that is saying, okay, yeah, we got 500 people, and we need to have you back in the pews, and because we got this and this and this and this? Do I feel that same uh, sense that you're cherishing the name, my name, or whoever the names of the people that were given to you and a fiduciary responsibility in the same kind of way? And so it's a definition that really it goes extremely deep because you know we talked about the spiritual that the that said to hand, and she asked, "You call that a deacon? Do you call that a preacher? Do you call that a Christian?" And she goes back to scandalized men Inc. And the whole thing, the thing that we're talking about is the safety. Can we allow people to handle the name that we've been given? Okay, as women, okay, can those people that choose whatever candidate they're choosing, do they feel that that person is handling the names of the women of yourself or your daughter or what have you? It's kind of like what AOC had said, that when the guy was pretty much cussing her out, he said that, you know, he gave license to any guy on the street, to any of his daughters, to do the same thing. So it's like he dismissed the whole delicacy. He gave the fiduciary responsibility of the names of his daughters, of the names of whoever, uh, to these people that could care less about it. So that's kind of where we're at. Would you like to comment?
Well, just that I really like that definition. I mean, or that image. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's like something that we can remember, you know, it's like a story almost, but it's very pithy, you know, and so it's something I like that as a teaching tool and as a conversation tool, because it's very personal and it leads to stories. And I think you know, even what we're missing is the ability, I mean, because of our trust deficits and our skills deficits, is even the ability to converse and share our stories. And so that itself, you know, I think is a nice opener for conversation. And just the way you've done, yeah, I really love that. That's deep, and I really like that. Thought provoking.
We were about to shout earlier, Christine. We had to get ourselves together. Feel like running.
But it's you know when she said, oh gosh, you know, it's and I realized after some years why my 14 years of French didn't take, because I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe. They called me something other than my name.
Yeah.
And and I couldn't trust it in the whole of that. And you know, and it's the interesting thing that we're saying about it is that I had a dream, and I was trying I said, I'm a polyglot. I speak at least three languages, you know. And I said, why is this difficulty that I have with the French language in my, they call it in Italian, my apprendimento, my learning, my accessing, the whole thing. And it had to do with, okay, I thought, I said, okay, I don't think the Italians are any brighter than the French are. However, that the difference between called Nehemiah and Hector, okay,
that's kind of clear.
Just like, you know, it was just, and so, you know, we I think kids used to Hector, the trash can collector. So it was already just, you know, not going to happen. Yeah. And I have a feeling that a part of that not feeling at home, not trusting that, prevented me. But then when you look at education and you look at kids in their ability to, I thought at one point in time when I remember I was first got into my middle school, and I had a teacher who was horrific. Okay, can we just say it? She was just horrible. Okay, she had problems because I didn't talk a lot in class, and I'm thinking, well, he was asking questions. I said, you got nothing to say? Do I need to go through? Year after that, I'm taking algebra, and they were saying, oh, yeah, you know, you don't really know if you need to take. I went to the other side of the scale, and I loved it. I loved it because I had that sense of safety. I had that sense of trust in the space where I was at, that I could trust that I think that what we're really talking, it speaks volumes to where we're at today, the whole idea of trust issues.
Yeah.
You know, can we? You know, it's I can choose a subject, choose a
You know,
social.
it just you were talking, it triggered. I remember, you know, Charlottesville, integration happened here when I was in fourth grade. But I remember the segregation and segregation because in cities like Charlottesville, it's not just about race; it's about class.
Mm-hmm.
And in the colored schools, my sisters and brother and I were, well, my brother was not at school at that point, but my younger sisters, we were not teachers' daughters and we're not railroad men's kids.
Yeah.
And so they were the ones who were the cream of the crop, so called. And they were put in the advanced classes in the segregated schools. And I remember being so bored. And my sisters were so bored. And my Regina, who's the middle child, it's me, Regina, and Deb, we're the three oldest. And Regina would have fits in class and throw chairs and have the teacher on one side of the room and the kids on the other side. And they would call for me. At this point, I'm in third grade. Regina's in second grade and Deb's in first grade. And I would come in the room because nobody could calm her down. And I'd say, Jeepu, what's wrong? And she says, it's not fair, Bryn. It's not fair. And what she was speaking about is the fact that on a Wednesday, in the middle of the school week, teachers' children got to go roller skating because at Jefferson School there was the roller rink on the other end of the building. They got to go roller skating in the middle
Ooh.
of the week, in the middle of the day. And she had been waiting for her turn, which never came. And she said, it's not right. Why are they treating us differently? And I remember my mother was at work. My parents were at work, so I handled it. I'm third grade. I handled it. And I had to tell my little sister, I know it's not right, but these people aren't always right. We'll be okay. And I remember one day because I had asthma, I think I was out of school with a cold or something. And so they couldn't call me. They called first grade Deborah to calm Regina down, and she had to do the same thing. Regina would have these outbursts at injustice, and one of us had to calm her down. But they kept happening, and they kept happening because our names were not safe in their mouths.
Hmm.
We were not safe in segregation, and we were sure not safe
No.
in integration. We weren't safe. Praise God, we were bright kids, but the situation didn't lend itself for us to ever really get comfortable learning there. So my learning didn't really happen in the schoolroom. Our learning happened because we read everything. We read everything. And I remember being a trustee for my younger sisters and brother because whatever I read, is before I could finish it, they had it. So I knew
Mm-hmm.
I better pick well because they were going to get it. And if they were going to get it, I needed to be sure it was worth their getting a hold of. But I didn't
Hmm.
learn in school. I learned because the Lord made us voracious readers.
Well, in the same, I think how many years? I think I was a couple of years ahead of you or
Mhm.
something like that. And what had happened, I came under freedom of choice. Okay, so when Charlottesville being the nature of the place that it is, it had all of these separate for those people that might hear or listen to this. They're all elementary schools all over the place, all over the city, and so on and so forth. But there were two high schools. There was Burley,
The
which
rich
was
people
the
opened
black,
private schools doing segregation integration.
yeah.
That's what they did.
And so there was Burley, and then there was Lane. Okay, when they said that, okay, they needed to, no more of this separate but equal stuff. Their response was, "Hell no, we won't go." I'll never forget that. It rhymes, so hell no, we won't go. And so then ultimately what happened was they found out that going was taking a lot more than what they thought it was going to take. And so they had to backtrack and come back with from that,
They added up the
because the
bill.
academy,
Yeah.
the academies that they came up with could not hang with what was in place, even if they were forced to do it all together. Okay, so my situation was like this. My father was Pentecostal pastor. He built houses all over the place. He was worth being in any level, but that being a holy roller, it took you down another level. It's like you could not be that intelligent and be rolling around on the floor. That was the whole thing. And so so I was kind of tired of it all, because I was president of my 7th grade class by the surprise of everybody else. And I think the thing that miffed me so much was I didn't get to write my speech, and they told me they would write my speech for me, and then I'd have to read it. I was thinking, see, that was the thing that got me out the door. I said, okay, I'd rather be
blind than live without your love, baby.
Swim in the ocean than be a big. And so
Rather be
and
blind,
so I just thought, I said, I don't care. I don't care if they have to. And I think they had me in a battery of tests for a week, a solid week. They would test me right and left and all kinds of IQ stuff. And I think they just invented stuff to good. But the Lord just took us through. And the difference was that my father and my parents raised me on that you a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people set aside. I knew I was somebody that I could have stood, all kinds of racism, because I knew from that standpoint.
And I was unshakable. I know that's not who I am. Yeah. That may be who you are, but that's not who I am. I already know.
And so I was 14 and attending classes at the University of Virginia, which, they tried to not really get big into that, And I thought, okay, whatever. And so it comes down, which is Barbara Brown.
Hey, Barb!
we get everybody on our trust issues.
Rolling in.
So the long and short of it was like, yeah, that was a deep one to catch on that. How are you, Barbara?
Yeah. I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good. Somebody want to explain to her what we've been talking about?
Hey, Christine. Did Christine just blink out?
No, I don't. Somebody did. Anyway, so Barbara, yep. our theme. We've been continuing. We've been continuing our idea of social and musical evolution. Okay. However, our focus has changed a bit. We haven't gotten to music yet, but we're still on the social. And so today we're talking about trust issues.
Okay.
And when I first started talking about the whole, or doing my research for the discussion, when I started looking for stuff on contemporary trust issues, and the thing that came up were the issues relative to economics. And so we're talking when you have, quote unquote, something set aside as a trust, and then if you have trustees or people that just have overseeing responsibilities. So I needed to define it a little tad more. And then I got into the social and economic and religious how can I say, ramifications or the things in development of trust. And so we've been kind of going on the whole idea about trust. And Brenda came up with this definition of trust. You want to give it yours, Brenda?
I read the story of a little boy who was asked about how to define love, and they mean almost love and trust mean very similar things to me. And he said, "My name is safe in your mouth."
Okay.
And so what we've been looking at is a lot of the feeling that well, first of all, I said the slaves got that straight off with the spiritual when they talk about. I saw my deacon the other day, gave him my right hand. Just as soon as my back was turned, he scandalized my name. And then the question is, do you call that a deacon? Oh no. You call it the deacon? No. Do you call it a deacon? Oh no. He scandalized my name. The whole idea that these people will handle your name. They will handle the essence of who you are. They will handle your children relative to if they need to go back to school or not. That you can actually trust them handling your children or your name from a gender standpoint or whatever. Can you actually?
And looking at
how can I say?
Well, a perfect example now is Kamala Harris. Now that she's been named as VP, people are scandal. She may not have been everybody's first pick, but they're trying to scandalize her name. It's not going
Yes.
on, but they
I
are
read
working on that thing.
I actually I can't remember, maybe it was the Times, the New York Times or something, where they were talking about the whole birther movement again. I was like, really? They tried that with Obama, so now they're trying to say what, she's not American?
Old playbook. Yeah.
It's just like, okay, how many people can you say they're not American because they weren't born here? Where exactly was she born here? You know, it's so yeah, I can see that. And for me, you know, a name is important. You know, it really is, because if we didn't have a name, how would we connect to ourselves? How do other people connect to us? Then are we not things then at that? Yes, okay. You know, slavery time, we were things. We were objects. You know, if you want to break an object, you break it. It's yours, you own it. It has no feelings. Yeah, it doesn't talk, even though a human being, as we are, we actually have a higher cognitive thought. We can think, we can feel, we can cry. Yeah, we can be angry, but yet for a large chunk of our time in the US, we were considered like a chair or a sofa. So if you break it, oh well, continue breaking it and throw it away. Like
another one, right?
You know, and it was fine, you know, as long as we don't connect it with you know, as a human being, as something that has feeling, then I can continue to do what I want, you know. And in this time, though, if you were to say that to people, they would go, oh, but you know, you're a human being. You know, you're a person. You know, we're all human. Yes. But as soon as you say that, look at your actions. Look at your actions does not equate with what you say. You say we're human beings. You say that, you know, we all bleed the same and we should be on the same page. But clearly we are not. You know, there is this complete disconnect. It only works when you feel that it should work. Other than that, you just ignore it or put it on the back burner. You know, and so
that's why it's so important to say their name. Say my name, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. Say the name. It is a person. Say the name. You know,
absolutely.
Say their name.
I mean, you have to separate the deed from the person. Okay, so yes, we know they're bad people and they do horrible things and stuff, but do we just push that aside and say, okay, so this horrible person, and sort of, you know, do what the Romans did, you know, throw them to the lions, rack them, you know, pull them apart, you know, the screaming stuff. It's bloody, it's messy, and it's inhumane. But hey, you know,
can clean it up and get some more.
move on to the next thing. You know, but yeah, I think it is important, you know, and I think fundamentally that's something I think we're missing in this day and age. You know, it's the same as a previous discussion where we were talking about hearing someone and listening. And I think at the moment we're just so off. We're just so off. Sometimes I wonder, I don't even know if we can find our way back on track. Maybe we just have to go like a zipper, you know, when a zipper goes off the track and you try to fit on, but you can do it, but it doesn't fit quite right. So you got to completely get rid of the zipper and put one.
Start over.
Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe that's what it takes. I don't know.
Now there's a thought.
Well, I think you are saying, you're speaking volumes, because when you threw that curve in about the Romans, it was like, yeah, that's all over the religious community. It's like, you know, when you look at slavery and equal rights and human rights and you know, civil rights, how many just stood there and watched while, you know, the people were just being thrown to the wolves, and the wolves were those vigilante groups and laws that were just divisive and set to erase the existence of these people. And it's how can I say it?
You know, it's interesting. You're talking, and Barbara was saying, all of a sudden, I don't think anything has changed, except every now and then what happens in history is we reach critical mass. The things we used to be able to put up with or take or didn't have voices for, that all of a sudden people, wait a minute, because this stuff been happening all along, but suddenly everybody says, you know, say my name. I have a voice and I can use it. We've reached a point of critical mass. So what, as you said, what used to fit, what used to work didn't fit anymore. Doesn't work. It never fit everybody, but the masses of people are saying, no. That might be your narrative, that may be your definition, but it's not mine. I'm not discounting yours, but you're not going to discount mine. That's what's happening. People who have been shut up, been forgotten, been silenced, are saying, I'm still here. You thought I couldn't talk, and I was silent for a while, but I'm done with that. And so let me tell you, it's rather like being a child, and people, the adults tell you children ought to be seen and not heard. And for a minute, you believe that mess until one thing too many happens, and you go, wait a minute, this is wrong, and I'm going to say it's wrong. And everybody's like, oh, you can speak? Yeah. Maya Angelou, how many years did she just stop talking? And when she opened her mouth again, boy, did that woman have something to say. She's speaking to us from the grave. Critical mass. You get burnish me bright before the night comes tarnishing. We're in a crucible of fire. We come out shining and ready to talk.
Right. And you know, it's what we're talking in just in general, the whole idea of trust issues for so many people that have trusted good government to take care of the needs. A lot of those people that had great jobs, and you know, as long as they could get everybody was proud. They would flash their Kaiser Permanente or whatever, their group with their insurance. They were just as happy as they could, even though they were still in them blind, put $400 and $500 a pop out of the paycheck, and you know, quantity of payment for health insurance. It was just ridiculous. And now you have COVID that has shut down a whole level of managerial blue
And it
collar,
doesn't make sense.
white
It doesn't
collar,
make sense
and
to
it's
have your job connected with your health insurance anymore because folks don't have jobs. Hence, no insurance.
no.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work. We need a
And
new. We
so,
need a new paradigm.
yeah. And so the deal is that now, okay, we've come to grips with, even how can I say, as much as I hate to say it, even under one of the more previous presidents, George Bush, and we look at him talking about putting together a task force to deal with what is it, infectious diseases, and then and I'm sitting there in disbelief. This is after Katrina. Okay, it's like, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I needed to give him a little more credit, give him a tad more credit than I thought he did. But he did. I thought to myself, I sat there dumbfounded as he began to detail it out, and he introduced Dr. Fauci in the middle of that. And then you come right around and you said it was all there, had been there a long time, and all of a sudden the guy comes in and guts it. It doesn't exist. So you cannot trust your government to take care. Your nobody's not just.
And the piece de resistance, because Trump will claim credit for stuff he didn't do. In 2014 or 15, Obama contracted with, I forgot the company's name, for ventilators. And but there was like a 2-year window before you could fill the order or whatever. And he negotiated a particular price, 500 some thousand, whatever. When Trump came into office, the people said, well, do you want this order? And so he kept putting it off. And so he finally negotiated, had to renegotiate the price because he waited, he passed the window. And so for several billion, he's got these ventilators coming. But guess when they're going to be delivered? In 2022.
Yes. So 2 years, which should have been now, but now we're 4 years out.
Right. And what I can't do math. I just know billions is a whole lot more than 100,000. At a great cost and too late, which is exactly the metaphor, the picture we want for a government which cannot be trusted. Too little, too late.
Too late.
Interesting. Christine? I think we have you. I think we have her coming in and out. We'll have to buy you a phone, Christine.
She'll probably come back on.
Yeah. She will. But I it's and I see it. If
hang on.
we could.
Hang on.
There she goes.
Come on.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
We hear you.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm getting kicked off every so often here. Yeah.
We'll know you'll come back.
Well, I mean, so many things so many things are running through my mind.
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just think we're in a critical, breakdown of trust on every level. And it's, I was reading some article about how, just the very fabric of our our social political order is really under threat because it's based on a certain trust. Even if it doesn't go as deep as it should, there has to be a certain trust that you put in something and get out something, and there's some kind of and if it breaks past a certain degree, yes, we maybe there's a certain liberation for some and here putting out their voice, but there's a desperation in the thing, and I think we're seeing that in some, and so there's I affirm that lots of things are mixed, you know. So there's positive, and there are positive, you know, expressions of voices that haven't been heard or called by name, but there's a certain lack of directing all of that into something, you know, which is the crisis in leadership. And so we do see a few leaders giving it a good shot. But I think this is, you know, there's danger here, you know, danger to individuals, to institutions. And so I agree that lots of our institutions, you know, perhaps just have to change. But it's that change, though, I mean, I hope not too much damage is going to be done to people's souls, you know, and bodies.
Well, we're actually built for it, Christine.
Yeah.
What I think, I hear what you're saying, but I take issue on one level, and it actually may not be your issue. It may be mine. We're built, human beings are built for vulnerability. That's how we live. We live on the edge. We're built for vulnerability. There is actually no point in history where we're not vulnerable. We may feel it more because so many institutions are at question. So many people are questioning so many things, but the essential vulnerability of being a living, breathing being is what it always has been. It's on level 100 million all the time. That's what it means to be alive. And God's job is to give. God's job in the humanity is to give us the sense of being that allows us to walk forward, even in the middle of that vulnerability.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think a part of our social problem is that we don't affirm that basic reality, and we try to avoid vulnerability at every cost, you know. And
and what Nehemiah was saying earlier is what if and I know I'm making a generalization, but in general, if you find there can be a steadiness to Black culture, to the extent that there is a steadiness to the culture, it is because little Black girls and little Black boys like us, like Nehemiah and Barbara and I, we built our identity on who God says we are. Because society only threw us away, so I can't use that. So how do I form the self? How do I understand who I am? And from my earliest consciousness, I have understood I am God's child. That is who I am. And so whatever else happens, you can't shake that, because whatever the world, according to the world, I should not be. I should have been, if I got here in the first place, I should have been dead and gone a long time ago, because I'm of no use to anybody, because I'm a little Black girl and I ain't never gonna be nobody and nothing, amen. Except that this little Black self said, wait a minute, Jesus loves me.
Yeah.
And you build on it for the rest of your breathing days. You build on that fact alone. So the world can do whatever the heck it pleases. I'm God's daughter.
I find that if we look at, you know, I don't always go here, but if we look at Genesis chapter 16, we look at the story of Hagar. We see kind of a classic situation where everything goes to hell in a handbasket, and God is just waiting to pick up the pieces. Where Abram, before he became Abraham, he was Abramo, and then Sarah was Sarai. And so, you know, God had given a promise to them that, you know, Abraham would be the father of many nations. And he was saying, he was already old as dirt. Okay, he was saying, bring it on. Okay, and Sarah was saying, he said she would bring forth in her old age. And she started laughing. She just broke up over it, you know. And then the story was happening. As the story begins to reveal itself, it's like, well, wait a minute, Jesus. Okay, what we could say Jesus in this part, but wait a minute, God. Okay, it ain't happening fast enough. can I give you a hand? Okay, so she got the slave girl, Egyptian slave girl. And so she decides that, well, ain't nothing happening. I need to give God a hand because he need to pull us up, come on through with this real fast. And so she gives her slave girl to her husband. And so her slave girl becomes the wife. Okay, we don't always get it, but she becomes the wife. Okay, and then she's pregnant. And so, needless to say, if you're the wife, then you ain't trying to be the slave girl no more. Okay. So she hit, her head blew up, and so Sarah thought she's just disrespecting me. And so she was telling Abramo about that. And he said, what should I do with her? And he classic male fashion says, it's your thing.
You
do what you want to do. You do what you handle. Do what you want to do.
I can't tell you.
And so the long and story, Hagar had to hit the road running because the padrona, the head mistress was over. She was done and through. And so we see her out there. And then in the scripture talks about God says,
desert, no food, no water, a baby with a baby.
And this. No, that's the second time. This is the first time before she had the baby.
That is true. Yeah.
Okay, so then he's asking her, girlfriend, what you doing out here? Okay, why are you here? And she says, well, I'm fleeing from my mistress, and then the angel responds and said, go back and humble yourself and stay there. And not only that, this is the beauty of it. Okay, all of the people that she was supposed to depend on failed her. Abraham knew full well he was just enjoying the ride. Okay, can we say that? He enjoyed the ride. Okay, Sarah was getting what she needed out of it. That whole baby thing hanging over her head. That was kind of taken care of until girlfriend realized that she was wifey. Okay, so she wasn't supposed to be around that. And then in the middle of that, we don't hear anything about her having anything to do with God. And God finds her.
Yep.
He finds her. And he has a conversation with her and identifies who she is. And then he reveals a part of his identity to her that he never revealed to anybody else. El Roi, which means that I see you. I see you. Okay, so with all of the structures and everything else that failed the girl, okay, I think we're in that,
God
we're in that situation.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. And that's what we're talking about the trust thing. Is my name safe in your mouth? And so when we look at it, we look at all the institutions, the schools. It's like you're thinking, wait a minute, okay, can I trust them? And they're saying, well, if they don't send the kids back, they're gonna cut the budgets. Cut the budgets. It's like I can't trust them.
I don't see you.
And then
I don't see you. Don't care to see you.
And then the churches, you got. Yeah, we had it going on. We had like 5,000 people up in here. Okay, you got that big old building and you got mortgage payments. Okay, and the offerings are not coming. Okay, so how are we gonna get that going? Okay, my name is not safe in your mouth.
Well,
okay, and then our medical leaders and stuff, they're flip flopping back and we're talking about injecting yourself with bleach and all kinds of stuff. It's like, it's not. My name is not safe. Do you see? It's a complete destruction of what we hold as trust. And so we go back to square A. It took them a few years to put it on the money. In God we trust, and we don't even know if it meant anything. But here we are. It's like we're trying to find common ground or somewhere.
Yeah, I was just thinking, the first stimulus checks got held up because Trump wanted his name printed on them.
What?
They finally came.
Yeah, that was it. That was
Trump
it.
wanted his name, and I didn't need his name on that.
Uh-huh.
Nobody else had ever done that, but Trump's name was printed on those stimulus checks. Just like he put his name on those buildings and every other thing he's ever done, he put his name, he insisted that his name be put on the checks. And by this time, the leader said, "What the heck? Send them." But his name, if you, mine went to the bank so fast, I just
Mine,
so
I
totally
didn't see it.
disgusted.
So
I cashed the check, but I was not a happy camper to see that
yeah,
signature on it.
yeah.
My name is not safe in his mouth.
No.
No one's is. And quiet as it's kept, his name isn't even said. Let me tell you, this is not rocket science. We will all see it together. He's about to implode because, like all demons, when their time is short, they take everybody with them they can because they know they know they're on their way out. Bro, man is on his way out. He can't go. He could go faster for me, but I ain't God.
You know, can we strap rockets under his feet?
Oh, honey, something. I'd be glad. I'll take the mission. Zippity doo
I'll
dah.
be there flicking
Ba
the
ba.
flip, you know.
Well, I still go for my vision of, you
I thought he'd be eating grass on
Nebuchadnezzar
the
eating
south
grass
lawn,
out,
but
out on the
I
back of your
think that
lawn out of
option is
White House.
that option is off the table. I think that's too good for him. No, 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 no. Because see, the difference is that the
Yeah.
one who ate the grass repented. This brother is reprobate. Good old
Mm.
biblical word. Donald Trump is reprobate. He's not going to turn back. He's not going to turn to God. He
Mm-mm.
doesn't want to. He will not.
It's classic scripture when if they knew he was God,
Mm,
they didn't honor him as God.
yeah. Because he wants to be that, and you can't be.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. It's but I believe that we're having a what is that Patrick Henry moment when it don't work no more. Throw it over. He said get rid of it, cut it out, which is what happens in Europe. They ask for a vote of confidence. The ones that are arrogant enough to think everybody trusts them, which has happened in our latest government. He was arrogant enough to think that people had faith in him. And then when they asked for the vote of confidence, they found that they didn't trust him. And so that government went the way of, okay. The U.S., I think we're awful afraid of doing something like that because it's just too direct. Okay. We've come up with the how can I say the idea that the populace doesn't have the intelligence to select. So that's how we ended up with the electoral college.
Mm.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that as the 45th starts to build fences higher and higher around the White House,
Mm.
it's there's no plan. But I believe that what's happening with us is until those structures come down, until the idols are put on the altar and tossed down, then there will never be any trust. They've got to come down. All the giants have got to come down. They've got to be tried in the fire to prove that they are that way. And then we hear that crashing moment when I remember in the stock market before I came to Italy. It was like you're standing there and you could lose your shirt, and some people did, and you can't find you got money and you can't cash it in,
Can't
and
hear
so
nobody pray.
that's it. And so out of the ashes came a system that allowed 24-hour trading and other stuff actually offered more, what is it, possibility of regulation, even though that the people that the powers that be are trying to throw out all the regulation that they came in with. But until all of it comes down to nothing, then I think that's really where you're at with
Which goes back to Christine's statement earlier about hoping that something survives. I think that, and this is my thought, I don't think we know what ought to survive. I think
yeah,
what of the system we currently have. I don't know. There's stuff we might think would be good to survive, but I think our judgment is off, and so we have to trust God to lead this, to steer this ship, and let survive what needs to survive, and to say, okay, God, I'm in your hands, because if God makes it over, God makes it over. And what may have been dear to me and what I think has to
yeah,
survive in order for the whole thing to adhere may not at all be what needs to survive to make the thing adhere. It's like writing a sermon or doing preparing a sermon. Sometimes I think I'll start out and I think the point, the main point is what I've noted as the point. But as I work with the sermon, I realize, oh, that's not the central idea. That's one of the points leading to the central idea. So I have to flip the organization of the sermon to reflect what God has shown me it ought to be. And that's often completely opposite or flipped from what I originally thought the sermon was going to be about. And so I can't be didactic and say, no, the sermon needs to be about this. No, the sermon needs to be about what the Holy Spirit says it needs to be about. And
right,
I make the relevant adjustments so that it is what God wants it to be. So it is the word that God wants spoken to those people at that time and in that place. But so I'm the one who has to be willing to adjust. And I think that's where for me, that's a metaphor that works for where we are in the world. We would like to see the world continue with some sense of organization that we are used to, but I am positing
but
that the
yeah, it's
organization that the Spirit is bringing forth may be nothing like what we're used to.
right.
I'm with you, and what I said earlier was not exactly that. It was, I hope in the process that people's souls, aren't destroyed or deeply, or wounded irreparably. So I was just speaking about, in a way, the process and the need for like leaders to help point out what you just said, and to help people with the fear, that comes from it, and from the confusion and chaos, and leaders that call people by name, and create spaces of acceptance and community, genuine community, to say, okay, we're in something here that is the logical conclusion of what we've had, and so we need change. So let's be a part of changing ourselves and directing the change. Not in a we don't know how it's going to end or where it's going to go exactly, and we have to be willing to release things we aren't expecting, but at the same time we can influence it in terms of the choices we make for our own growth, for our community life. And I think leadership is needed in all of that.
And indeed. Nehemiah said something to me last week that stayed with me all week long. He says, I don't remember you being that. We didn't say it exactly like this, but that's what he meant. I don't remember you being that wise. And what has happened is that the suffering that I have gone through has honed me in a particular way. And it's not just me that happens to. Any of us who survive any struggle, any suffering, are honed in a particular way, we become more clearly ourselves, uh, um, open to being vulnerable and just being ourselves and staying and sharing our truth. For me, it's a broken body, a stroke, and having to trust God when I didn't know how on earth I was going to live with fully half a body that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And Barb, you go wah
Mm-hmm.
wah wah, and the truth is the old bee is dead. She died. She's not coming back. But this new one, she ain't bad. I can work with her.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mm. Yes,
And so I say
indeed.
that to say, particularly in the 21st century, we don't really have much truck with suffering. But I tell you, it is suffering on whatever level, whichever way God allows, that allows us to become who we are supposed to become. So there's no way around it, and there is efficacy in it. As much as I hate to admit it, there's a need for suffering. The way human beings are constituted, suffering does something unexpectedly marvelous in the human soul. And
Yeah.
so the stuff that we think will destroy us, so the stuff that ought to have destroyed us generally doesn't. It makes us.
Well, this is where the musician in me comes out. I remember the sister wrote these words. First, I was afraid. I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without
Mm-hmm.
you by my side.
Yeah.
I spent so many nights thinking how
Yeah,
you did
you
me
did.
wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get on. But now you're back
So you got your
from outer space. The
I
truth of
will
the matter
survive.
is, I will survive. It's just the deal is, and I hear John, First John 3, that comes through and says, it 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 says, beloved, now we the children of God, and it doesn't appear what we shall be, but we know when He does show up, we'll be like Him, and so we'll see Him as He is. And and the deal is with the suffering and the pangs, and and the agony of what those Americans of us that are overseas. We're looking back at the motherland and think, oh my God, what is
They
happening?
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said that quite
And
a
we
bit.
are.
But it's coming down to, it's the survival. It's the all the idols are being tossed in the flame. Okay. Everything that we ever thought,
Every one of them,
education,
every one
the
of them.
beauty, all of them are just being thrown there. And I believe that, especially from a Christian standpoint, it says, when after we've been tried, you come forth as pure gold, and then you realize what Joseph said. It meant it for my harm, but God turned it around. God meant it for my good.
Yeah.
It's like the world. It can be a better place,
Mm-hmm.
than it is. We are forced to deal with the our neighbor, or even discover who he is. Because if you've been locked in your house for 4 months, you're glad enough to see somebody else out on the block.
The
And
Swiss
so
still the Swiss still haven't gotten to that point.
Well, the Swiss are special.
They are.
Yeah, boy,
but
whole special people.
but you
The special.
but you
A world
see,
full of
it's
special people.
Yeah, the
Well,
Swedes also are special.
well, let me tell you, let me tell you. But you know, I was just thinking when you all were talking, you know, when Israel got into the land, the promised land, there was child sacrifice around them.
Hmm.
And it just popped into my head, and I don't know any way to say it, but to say it, folks who are willing to send their children to
I've been
school
thinking
in this
about that.
pandemic
Yeah.
are practicing a kind of child sacrifice. We are, we are, as human beings, we are as we've always been. It may be the 21st century, but we're practicing age old things. We're going back to idolatries, which we say we have conquered, which in fact is not true.
Hmm.
Mm,
And when you keep them, you keep them in cages. That's what you know. That's the same thing. It's like, you know,
yeah,
you're housing them, and you know you don't care where the parents go, and so they're replenishable. So obviously, you know that in the midst of that, there's harvesting of of organs and God knows whatever else that's going on
yeah.
within that, which we never would admit to knowing
Met
it was
right,
happening
and
on that shore.
ISIS decided that it's not their problem if COVID-19 is running rampant in immigrant camps. They're not going to do anything about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's just fine.
Yeah. One less problem to have to bother with.
Mm. Not despite the fact it was the problem that they created in the first freaking place, but they don't have to worry about the problem that they created and the problems that they create. We don't have to worry about that. Not our issue.
So so we're rushing on to finishing our time together. But I'm one of these people. I think the question begs to be asked. Well, what should we be doing in this crisis and of trust and what how what counsel can we offer? It's one thing to say, yeah, the house is built, and that house down number five is on fire too. Okay, so what are we suggesting?
Mm.
I think
What
Christine has begun the answer. Um, First of all, we acknowledge the crises. Everything's on fire. We acknowledge it
Hmm.
first. And then we understand that part of the role of leadership is to help us find the words to describe where we are on the critical scale. And once we know where we are on the critical scale, then our gifts present themselves, and that's how we should deal with it. That's why we help the people around us and ourselves to deal with it. It's not one band-aid, one size fits all. There has to be the requisite introspection, the requisite prayer, the requisite communication, so we can fine tune this thing. Uh, Particularly Americans, we like somebody to say, "Oh, this is the solution. Just apply this bandage, and 24
Hmm.
hours it'll all be over." That is out the window. That it never worked. It's certainly not going to work down. We're going to have to individually sit down with ourselves, and then as community members, sit down with each other. What gifts do you have? I've got this one. What do you have? And put this freaking thing together so that we can come out on the other side. We talked about community from the beginning. It will take a community, the whole village, to survive. If we don't work together, we're not going to survive. We do not.
Well, and if we don't work together, we're going to be a part of what breaks us apart, because we're going to start to work against others in the end.
Yes. Absolutely.
Out of fear.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're already at that point. I mean, you could see it where, you know, push comes to shove, then it's like, okay, it's every man for themselves, you know, unless you happen to be in my immediate family. And even then, I'm not guaranteed that's going to hold.
Right.
You know, it really becomes down to the survival of the fittest if push comes to shove. I mean, just look at initial shutdown where, okay, you had some people that would check on their neighbors and things like that, but the vast majority of people were like, I need this. It's me, mine.
I need all the toilet paper.
Yeah, that's something I still don't. I can't figure out why toilet paper.
When you come and take all of it off the shelf. Now that is, I mean, my feeling is
all the toilet paper, all the toilet paper,
not the water, not the canned goods, but the toilet
paper, the TP, all the TP.
It's a sign of, you know, more to come, right? So we need to be working in the opposite direction by, I don't know, having bonds of having commitment to help those who are in need, by getting closer to whoever is in our sphere, you know, to forming small communities, I think, and bigger ones.
I'm trying to develop my sermon for Sunday, and the central thought is,
well, you know, Christine?
It was Brenda.
I think we lost. Okay. Well, I think we're getting to.
Brenda's talking about her sermon. I want to hear about her sermon.
I did one line. I was trying to determine what it was going to be about, and one of my Facebook friends met a neighbor who they had a bit of a tornado come through their community this week, and his mother lived in that place. And she said, "How are you doing?" And he says, "We're fine. We're praying." And she says, "Well, after you pray, what are we going to do?" And he says, "We have to give each other hope." I think that's the assignment of the age. We have to, and we can. I think we forget that we can give each other hope. The people in Georgia are sending their kids to school. The kids are symptomatic and they're sending them, or the parents are waiting for their test to come back, the COVID test to come back, and there's the real possibility that it's positive, but they're sending their kids to school anyway. And in fact, they're coming back positive, but they've already sent the kid to school and they've already exposed the whole school and all the teachers to the virus. We know that's wrong, but we've got to get to the point where we recognize that we cannot act on that selfish impulse. We've got to understand that at best we're talking about the kid being able to go for a week and then everybody's got to go home. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you know, we are the metaphor for human beings is that we are sheep. Jesus says we are like sheep. And it is so apt because they the dumbest cute critters in the world. They just dumb as dirt. Thank God Jesus loves us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think that we're coming to grips with what Jesus said. You know, everything was tied up into that one commandment to love your neighbor as yourself, as you would that men would do unto you, do also unto them likewise. And then we go. We've come full circle. Strangely enough, nobody has really said it, but you know, the whole idea of giving each other hope. And so we come back to what the Pointer Sisters said. I know that we can make it. I know that we can. Yes, we can. I know we can. If we wanna, okay, we can. If we wanna, and that's really where it's at. So I mean, I hate to be a sloganite, but it's like, yes, we can if we wanna. So the other is we're sailing, changed the face, at least at the time, of the nation. We said yes we can, but it says yes we can, but if we wanna, okay. And the other side was that we've added is if we want it to happen, and we got to want it to happen because that's where you're calling on the individual, because it's become an individual spotlight for every single solitary person. When I walk out the door and I get 10 feet from my house and realize I don't have my mask, go the heck back in the house, go up the flights of stairs, pull the thing down, and get your mask and put it on. Because
that song, I mean, it's not what is the word you use, sloganizing or something. For me, it's not. It's like it in a way it goes
it's
to
the truth. It's the truth.
It goes to what this whole discussion on naming, and as Brenda said, naming truth is so powerful, and then doing it together is so hope-giving, and through music, of course, even more, which is why we're bonded over gospel music, among other things. But like that song alone has given, and singing it with you, led by you and supported by you, it's given me so much hope, in times of I wasn't hopeless, but I was hurting, and it gave me courage to keep going, and so I think that I was thinking that then, you and I knew and know and knew and will know, we trust that there is a source of hope, and that we wanna. And sometimes we need each other to push us out of our lack of creativity, out of our laziness, out of our sadness, whatever. We need each other to help each other do it. But then at the same time, there are some people who don't know they wanna, or who don't wanna yet. But it doesn't mean they can't wanna. And sometimes, when you, that's where making music together is one expression of, it draws people in because they realize, maybe I wanna, like there's something in the expression of it through music, where we begin to then live it in community, where we realize there's something we didn't know about. And this is what Christian community is supposed to be in its many expressions, and sadly so often isn't. But it's this that we somehow need to be doing. And now how? Let's talk more about that. How we can, either in our respective corners, but also together.
Well, it's interesting that you and I have been friends, since for years, at least a good 15 or more years, and
almost
kind
20.
Of the same with 20. Brenda. With Brenda and Barbara. Okay, Brenda is Brenda Brown-Grooms, and Barbara is Barbara Brown, and we just know somewhere on the face of the earth that we're related. And we're related. It's like
we are just playing back. Just go ahead.
we just
It's all right, cuz.
Okay. So I mean, we've certainly been to the brink of disagreements with everybody in the group. Okay, but I believe that the little song that Hezekiah Walker's, I need you, you need me. We're all a part of God's family. Stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's family. It is His will that every need be supplied. It's important. You are important to me. I need you to survive. And then the line that says, I need you. I won't harm you with words from my mouth.
Yeah, there you go.
And see, that's
Come
where
full circle.
it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you've come really that it's the harming. It's like, you say, those of you, I don't know how many of you had people that you thought were your friends, and then you found that they were backstabbing you every time they could get, and then you just realize, no.
We have somehow, I think we somehow backed ourselves to where we can enter through with the music, and that's on the
Yeah,
note of hope, because
amen.
we heard it in Christine's voice, and we all resonated with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
what music does, all music, but particularly gospel music. It keeps calling us back to hope. It keeps building hope in us. We get torn down in the world and become hopeless, and then we sing the words of these songs together. Just run them through our heads by ourselves, and then we come together and harmonize, and hope rises, hope rises, hope rises,
Mm-hmm.
until we healed for another battle. And we might get
And
torn down again, but the music brings hope and healing again, and we can fight another day. And we're torn down another day, but then the music rises again, and the hope
Yeah.
rises again, and it
Yeah.
keeps going on, and it's a renewable source of energy.
Mm-hmm.
and
I
it
mean, those
create it.
two.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go. No, I
It
was just
no, really, go.
I just wanted to just say this that Brenda said about hopes, but it goes hand in hand with hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other. And hope. I mean, there are people that if you ask them, they have no hope, and then if you ask them the question, well, what's your dream? What do you dream about? What forward thinking is your dream? Because in that you'll have hope, and just as you have hope, you can dream.
Right. And it's the tiniest bit. It's like a mustard seed. It doesn't have to be a lot.
Yeah, no,
Doesn't have to
absolutely.
be a lot. And it can grow.
Yep.
I
What
was
were you
I
going to
was
say, Christine?
heading on to say that it's in a way it's along the same lines that it's a form of resistance as well.
Yes. There you
And
go.
where those maybe outside of the music, and especially those who want to caricature maybe the African American community, and its music, its gospel music, along with faith, along with the faith, it might say that's nice, but kind of sentimentalize it. But actually, it's the 100% reverse of that. It's
Yeah.
it creates community, it creates hope, it creates identity, it creates vocation, it creates faith, and
Yes.
it's about resistance. Because it's about resisting lies. It's about
Right.
resisting.
Yes.
What is death dealing, and
Music
it's
can make evil back up
yeah, yeah,
and give us the space to breathe and make a
yeah,
decision for
yeah,
God.
yeah,
Mm.
That's the resistance of it. And civil rights, any resistance finds it out with music. That's the power of music.
yeah.
It makes evil back up.
Which is
Yep.
why, oppressive regimes often go after the musicians and poets,
Yes,
right? More than the
Yep.
that's it.
military
Oh,
leaders, even.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah.
Under the guise of it's too radical, it doesn't fit in the state um edict.
yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. If the artist is the free thinkers, you name it, anything that's completely polar opposite of what the
Hmm.
state wants you to think.
but also it
What
pulls people
people-
together and inspires them
Yes.
to something
Right.
better, to
It it
something new,
Yeah.
it
to not
catches the
being the
heart. You
sheep.
can bypass the brain altogether
Yeah.
Mhm.
and go straight for the soul.
And then it can
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
mobilize, action when necessary, sacrificial action when necessary.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
it's as we kind of rein this in. It's interesting how we've gone through this saying our name and being able to trust, because that you find safety in your name and the mouths of these various situations. I can't, two scriptures that come rushing, Chronicles 7, 2 Chronicles 7 and 14, which if my people are called by my name, and humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I'll hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. And I hear at the same time Isaiah 53, which says, he was wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement or the settlement of our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. And I hear this whole gushing, rushing mighty wind of the Holy Spirit ushering through this conversation in musicality. And so I've learned in this time of COVID that when I just say the songs, I mean, you know, I'm a choir director, so getting 10 people together that's singing off key is really not the thing that takes me to the throne. Okay, it takes me somewhere else. But the Lord has said,
but it takes us. That's your cross.
But I get it. He says, say my name. He say my name when you allow the trust of the Holy Spirit saying your name, and that it's just like a whisper that just sweeps over the soul. And so I feel the same. The scriptures are these two scriptures that all the time we don't always talk about. It says, wounded for our transgressions and bruised for our iniquities. It's like God is just saying, okay, it's got to come down. Okay, tear them giants down. They got to come down. Okay, you got to face the music, repentance and whatever. You know, the stuff has gotta. You just gotta. If you want the healing, it's by His stripes. He's already done the work. Okay, just let me usher through the purification. It's almost like as it says in Handel's Messiah, He shall purify, and He's purifying. And this is what we're going through. It's strangely enough, we're just freaked the heck out with this thing, but it's a time of purification.
Purification, yes.
It's just
I was listening to that song this week. I love the Handel's, the chorus and the He shall purify.
It's and you know, the sons of Levi are those that the leadership that comes through and bring us back to the throne room. Amen.
Amen.
We're done.
Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao. Quindi, so maybe next Friday.
All
ciao,
right.
ciao tutti.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.